Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Gartner, and today I'm going to be talking about a fascinating kind of example of how science can sometimes backfire. And my presentation is called When Science Backfires, DTT in Operation Cat Drop. And this story starts with a good intention by solving a deadly disease problem, but ends with cats being parachuted out of the sky. So imagine this chain of events. So like mosquitoes lead to pesticide use, which leads to an ecological disaster, which somehow ends with parachuting cats. It sounds ridiculous, but it's a real historic event that happened. And it shows how interconnected ecosystems really are. So in the 1950s, the island called Borneo was dealing with a serious malaria crisis. Malaria is spread by mosquitoes, so the goal was simple: eliminate the mosquitoes and you reduce the disease. And to do this, scientists use a pesticide called DDT. DDT. It was sprayed over large areas to help kill mosquito populations. And at first, it seemed like a huge success. Mosquito numbers dropped, and so did malaria cases. Everything looked like it was working perfectly. But here, this is when things start going wrong. DDT didn't just kill mosquitoes, it also affected other insects as well. And when those insects died, the animals ate them, like geckos, began to accumulate the toxin in their bodies. Then cats ate the geckos, and the poison moved up in the food chain, and as a result, many of the cats in the area died. So what started as a simple solution turned to a chain reaction across the ecosystem in a bad way. So with the cats gone, there is a new problem appeared, which is rats. So cats have been keeping the population under control, but without them, the rat numbers exploded. And rats aren't just nuisances; they spread disease and can damage food supplies. So now, instead of just dealing with malaria, communities were facing another major health threat. So to solve this new problem, something very unusual happened. Officials launched what became known as the Operation Cat Drop. And with that, cats were literally being parachuted into villains to replace the old ones that has died. I would love to see that one day in my lifetime. And in these cats, they would hunt the rats and restore the balance. So it is definitely very unbelievable, but it actually worked as a temporary solution to the scientists experts. So this entire situation highlights some major environmental lessons. So first, the ecosystems are deeply connected. So when one part changes, it can affect many others. Second, introducing chemicals like pesticides can disrupt food chains in unexpected ways. And finally, even well-intentioned solutions can create unintended consequences if we don't fully understand the situation. So there were also the human impacts as well. So while malaria cases initially dropped, there was also new health risks that emerged because of the increase in rats. So communities had to deal with the shifting problems instead of the permanent solution. So this shows that environmental decisions don't just affect nature, but they also can effectively direct people's lives as well. And just for fun, here's an interesting connection to popular culture. So in reality TV, um, Borneo in the year 2000 was actually a hotspot for this because this is where the very first season of Survivor was filmed. And this highlights how globally important and interesting this region was. Not just the environmental past of it, but culturally as well later on in the years. And it can also help connect the story to something more familiar, really, by showing how environmental issues are tied to real places that people recognize. So why does this matter still today? Well, because events like this helped raise awareness about the dangers of DDT, and they also influenced environmental policies and regulations that we still follow today. And Borneo remains an ecologically and culturally important region, and that makes it even more important that we learn from past mistakes. So to wrap up, this story shows how one solution could create many problems, and it reminds us that the ecosystems are complex and very interconnected, and that scientific solutions are needed to be considered in the bigger picture. So ultimately, Operation Cat Drop is a powerful example of why we need to think carefully about the long-term effects of our actions. And I and here's my sources right here. And that is it for my presentation. So I hope that you all enjoyed listening to my presentation, and I hope you all have a great rest of your semester.